Russia is producing a lot of this grain, and the state has huge direct and indirect control over the economy. So it can subsidize those prices, and it can keep prices at a certain low level if it wants to. I would expect that the Kremlin will do that if it sees rising bread prices as any sort of threat. Vladimir Putin has been talking a lot about the Bolsheviks recently, and it was the bread riots in 1917 that overthrew the Tsar and helped bring Lenin to power. So you're quite right that this is a staple. This is not a this is an obligatory commodity. People do need to eat. What will be interesting going forward is to see whether Russia can use its export reserves as a tool of influence. We've seen during this crisis that Russia has not only faced a kind of coalition in the West, the usual suspects in support of Ukraine, but has faced a wide range of countries that would normally be a little bit more sympathetic to its position, either abstaining or voting against it in international fora like the UN. So, providing grain to countries that are under duress, or regimes where the government may become destabilized due to rising grain prices, may be a way for Russia to win friends and influence people, right, assuming it can get the grain to them.
Right, Patrick, your thoughts about what this could lead to possibly? I mean, could this lead to unrest in the Middle East, North Africa region if prices are going up and keep going up?
I think that there is high risks of unrest, especially that we've been in a high inflation framework for a while. With COVID, of course, we need to separate in the Middle East between oil exporting nations and oil importing. I don't think that oil and gas exporting nations would have any problem per se. I think that the problem is with the other countries, those countries who might have some social unrest related to the high prices. We were already in a high prices environment, and now with this shock, I think prices will be higher. In Lebanon, we had massive demonstration in the past 2 years. They were protesting corruption. And we are heading to an election within like a couple of months. So it's like the worst timing for the political class, I think, to run elections.
Right.
And if they think about it, then, you would have massive disruption and massive protest.
David, this war in Ukraine today poses a serious risk to global food security. What should be the response from governments, in your view, and international organizations?
So, obviously, one of the responses is to use money. We just see it, some of the oil exporters, when the cost of food doubles, their budget doesn't double automatically. So basically, their purchasing power is divided by 2. So we also need to help them. And now I think there is additional measures that have to be taken. First, solidarity also on this commodity market. I'm also restricting my exports. Argentina is also a key player that in many cases, due to social unrest at home and food inflation, tend to put this export limit, but it just makes the world market smaller and smaller, and people start to panic and buy more and more. And so you see really this spiraling situation as we have seen in 2007, 2008. So, this coordination and try to show solidarity, not only in terms of money, but also in terms of commodity. Last but not least, today we have also large, just one example of bad policy that can exist today, we have large biofuel programs that consume a large share of grains, but also vegetable oil. And I just want to point that the vegetable oil market is also in turmoil, and it's a staple food for many people, in particular when we move more in Western Asia and East Asia.
Yeah.
And how we can basically reduce the pressure, reduce the demand on what is non-essential, because feeding people is essential.
Right.
And that can be kind of response, And of course, there is more medium-term thinking.
Right. Dara in London, let me get your thoughts on this. What should governments and international organizations do? And what are some of the measures that importing countries could take to mitigate the drop in supply?
With everything that David just said there, it's not clear what importing countries can do without the cooperation and collaboration of exporting countries and with international financial support to get food to people at a reasonable price. If we're going to cushion the impact of the markets on the final consumers, the question that I would have is whether governments or around the globe have the bandwidth and the capacity to do this. The EU and the US are already quite engaged with the Ukraine crisis. They're kind of fighting that fire right now. The US will probably still have half an eye on its Indo-Pacific strategy and potential